Sione God, Abraham Bearpaw again here, and I just want to welcome you guys to this session. Very excited to introduce Mr. Bo Taylor. He is going to share his cultural knowledge with us, and I encourage you guys to, if you have any comments or questions, feel free to put those into the chat. And at the end, we can go through those. And so without further ado, I will turn it over to Bo. Sio, Bo, what all for joining us?
Sio. I know Gatsa de Delegiski, Colonna, Yawiaskeya, Tinela, Kaleli Gatiluki, Ahani. Sio, everybody. My name is Bo Taylor. I'm from the Big Cove community. I'm very happy to be here today. I just to kind of share some of my insights. I do like to always start out by saying, sometimes I might say things that might offend people or might upset you in some way, but I'm coming at it from my personal viewpoint, and that's all it is. And that's all I want to say is, it's like, it's from what I've seen and where I'm at, and my experience is my experience. But I do want to share that, and I'm willing to share. And I tend to have a big mouth, so to speak. I usually say what's on my mind, and so today I wanted to share with you a little bit. I've been a part of kind of a cultural renaissance that's been going on in Cherokee for a while, and because I grew up and I did not know who I was. I did not exactly, all I knew is that I knew I was Indian, but I didn't know what that really meant, and recently I've been working with some language learners, adult language learners, and this issue keeps coming up. This issue keeps coming up about, we're never going to be as fluent as the speakers of today. We're never going to have the same knowledge. We're never going to have this. That is true. We might not have the same thing, but see, what I need to remind all Cherokees is that we are a living, breathing culture. Our culture is always in movement. And the fact is, as Cherokees, we dominated the Southeast. We were, over 300 different tribes in the Southeast. And, and I know this sounds arrogant, but as Cherokees, we were dominant. They respected us. They knew who we were. We had knowledge of medicine and war and plants and animals. That's something to be very proud of. But see, what we don't realize is that our culture has always been growing and taken in. In reality, we shouldn't be around. We should have been weaned out long ago, but we're still here. And, as Cherokee people, we're still growing. One exercise that I like to do with people is I'll take a piece of paper or a chalkboard, and I'll put present day starting line. I'll put a line on there, and I'll say, put some significant events on there that for Cherokees, and people will go in there and they'll, from the Eastern Band, they'll say the casino started here, and they'll say our first female chief, and that was Joyce Dugan, and and they'll talk about when we went to the Trail of Tears, and we'll go through there. And this is what's significant is they'll put this on this big long line, and they'll put all this stuff that happens on our tribal line, but it's just really a blink of the eye in our history. We've been around for at least 13,000 years that we can be documented. We say that we've always been here. And my whole point of that whole exercise is that they need to understand, as Cherokees, we are more than Trail of Tears. We are more than, we have 13,000 years. And, a lot of times I'll say, well, when did Jesus walk the earth? Now, that was 2,000 years ago and some change. Now, I put that on the timeline, and I said, now, look, that's 2,000 years. Now, if you go and add another 11,000 years, That's how long we've been there, that they can document us. The line keeps getting pushed back. And the key thing that is so important for us as Cherokees to remember, that we've always adapted and overcome. We've always gotten back up. We're dealing with things that are, you know, are tough. And, you know, I think sometimes we can be our worst enemy, because we tend to focus in on things that we don't have, and the things that we find a way out of our problems by blaming somebody. And as Cherokees, what I believe is that we there's a word in our language, and it's called Dagwadudala. It's my responsibility. And I think it's real important that we remember that we are responsible, that we have the ability to adapt and overcome, and to take control of who we are. You know, and one of the things that, you know, that we've done in our languages, and I want to actually, I want to talk a lot about the fact of what the Cherokee Nation has done with their language program. I do remember when, you know, they were started out, you know, and they've been throwing a lot of money and time and resources to learn the language. And I actually can see that things are evolving and changing. We've got to have that same mindset. You know, we're in a day and age where I'm sitting in front of you. You know, I'm not wearing a suit and tie. You know, I purposely came dressed as traditional as possible. I'm coming from my home. I'm a Cherokee, but I'm speaking to you over technology, and we've got to be willing and able to, as Cherokees, to take things that we have today and put it to our own use. And that's where I say we've got to embrace technology and really start to change. You know, they always talk about the fact that, you know, all of our children are using all this time on watching TikTok, and, you know, the kids, and they spend hours and hours, and you yourself are probably spending hours and hours watching Facebook and Netflix, but we've got to take the technology and put it to our own use, and to learning language, and to grow in our culture. It is true. It is true that we, as Cherokees, will probably, and I won't even say that. I won't even go there. It's just, you know, to say that we won't ever get what the old ones had. That limits us. That limits what God gives us. You know, the fact is as Cherokees, if we take the time and we commune with the Creator, we go and we talk with the Creator, and I know this might sound like wooey wooey, and, you know, and all this stuff, but, you know, the fact is that we forgot what it means to fast. We forgot what it means to go to spend time on the mountain. You know, we as Cherokees, we recently went up to the top of Clingman's Dome, and one of some of the initiatives in this from a couple ladies in our community was to go and rename Clingman's Dome to its original name, and Kuwahi, and so we went all up there, and the thing was, we need to remember is that the Cherokees used to go up there and they would sit and they would pray. They would take time to actually go up there, and they would spend time, and they would commune with the Creator for their answers, and they would look for things. We don't do that anymore. Not like we used, well, not like we should. And this is where we as Cherokees, we are living in two worlds. You know, it's we need to reconnect. We need to actually give as much screen time to our culture as we do to Toon Blast and Candy Crush and any of these, you know, games that we're playing on the, you know, and the Netflix. If we spend some time and we, you know, and commune with each other, we can take this technology and, you know, for us to go out west, it's going to take us 15 hours, at least 14, 15 hours to get out there. But I can turn on the computer. I can sit and talk with Cherokee learners and Cherokee speakers from Rocky Ford to Jay, and you can speak with people from Snowbird and Big Cove and Wolftown. We can start communicating and start bringing our people together like we should. It is always best if we could come and meet. It is always good if we can come together and actually sit and eat, and that is a good Cherokee way. But if we don't have it, we've got to take advantage of what we do have. And it's real important, that we've got to change our mindset of what we're doing as Cherokees to save our language. And it's important that we always try to remain positive. Recently a lot of our speakers have been passing on. They've been passing on, and there's a tally of our speakers. And when I started in my new job as a manager of language and culture, it was over 200 speakers, fluent speakers from the Eastern Band. Now we're down into the 160s. COVID hit us hard. We've been dealing with a lot of issues, but the fact is, there's been this issue about how do we get more speakers? How do we get our language learners to be able to be back on the list? And that's my big initiative, is we've got to make sure that we're putting people back on the list and raising our language and raising the reality of what it means to be a Cherokee. I know I don't want to sound like I'm preaching or whatever, but I think we just got to be more aware of what we're doing, and we've got to have a mindfulness, and the intention is when we're doing stuff, we've got to have the intention of and asking the Creator for what we need to do and how do we make that better. And I think we're on a good, even though we're kind of in a desperate situation, especially here in the East. I think it's if we band together and work together as in all three tribes, when three become one, and we're always been the same, but we've got to work together and help each other out. And so I've just been, I just really appreciate what the Cherokee Nation has done. And they have been willing to work with us and to help us, and it goes both ways. So anyway, I know I've kind of been rambling on a little bit, but I do think it's important, that we as Cherokees, we've got to find the balance in what we're doing. We've got to be able to compete in this day and today's society. I just think it's truly important that we are able to achieve, and our ancestors, if you look back into a Trail of Tears, we were doing that. We were taking their laws and we were using their culture, and we were flourishing. We're still doing that. Our kids are smart. My daughter, I'm so proud of my daughter. She was recently the valedictorian this past year from Cherokee High School. But she started at Gadua, which is our language school. And she got a good start there. And this is where I'm saying that, a lot of people say, well, if you teach them Cherokee, they're going to be behind. They're going to be behind. They're not going to have the same advantages as the English speakers. That's kind of a backwards mindset. In reality, they become smarter because they have two languages. They're working in two languages. They see the world in two different languages. And my daughter, I'm very proud of the fact that that me and her mother, we took the time to make sure that she knew her culture, and we made it important. And that's the thing. she took those values and she still carries them today, and she's achieving. This is the thing, as a mindset, as Cherokees, we got to have the mindset that we are special. I know that sounds arrogant. I know that sound. I'm laughing at myself. I feel like I'm that possum with a big furry tail, but as Cherokees, we're not bold like we should. You don't become the most dominant tribe in the Southeast by being bold. By being meek, you got to be bold. And I think, and this is where I might ruffle some feathers. This is like, sometimes we need to own who we are, and to kind of take things back, and then really not ask permission to be who we are. And so, I don't know. It's one of those things that's very tough, and I feel like I'm sitting here in this room just talking to myself and rambling on. I usually like to be talking to somebody and see somebody's eyes and see what's happening, what they're feeling. But anyway, Abraham, is there anybody out there with questions or comments that I don't?
Yes, sir. If you look in the chat, there are two that you can answer, or actually three now, if you want to answer at your leisure, or if you can't find them, I can read them off for you.
Well, Abraham, I'm sitting here talking about all this embracing technology, and I can't even find. Oh, there it is. There it is. Okay. Is Kauai Mulberry Place or Huckleberry Place? That is true. Yes. When we actually got into a little bit of discussion about this not too long ago, because they were talking about Kauai, and that means mulberry, and they were saying, well, that's what it means. It's mulberry place, but the language is special. The language has there's subtleties in our language. That's what makes it so tough to learn. But when you see the subtleness in the languages, and when you use the language, one of our speakers came up and said, no, it's not Kauai, it's Kuwohi. And it's what that little slight change made it a place. It's the place of the mulberry. And we find that in Wolftown. They say Waya is wolf, but they go Wayohi, wolf place. And Chioa, Gia is a otter. Giohi is Chioa, otter place. And so the little subtleness, and that's the thing, we are actually reaching out to reclaim this. Here's the thing, it's a special place, not only to us, but it should be a special place to all Cherokees, because they were up there right before the Trail of Tears. They were up there praying. They were up there many times because that was a special place to go and pray. It's one of the highest mountains. It's the second highest mountain in the east. It's only about 60 feet lower than the highest mountain, which is Mount Mitchell. But it's ours, and it belongs to us. And as Cherokees, it's it's like we are actively trying to seek and go back and reclaim those things. And this is I'm talking about being bold. We for a long time we were passive because we were beat down, and they took so much from us, and they but there were still some of the Cherokees that were holding on, and really a lot of the Cherokees were holding on, but in their own way. And now as Cherokees, we need to never forget what the old ones did, because if they didn't, we couldn't be where we are. Now, it's our responsibility to go and get it back. It's our responsibility to go and use our minds and our energy to work together to reclaim things that belong to us. Some say it's just a name, but it's not. it's more than a name. It's kind of see how we see the world. Let me see. Can you have speak to one a large? Abraham, are you there?
Yes, sir.
Read me something, because I don't have. I'm old and need my glasses.
No, you're good. I need my glasses too. So we have so I just want to let everybody know that the chat function may not be working. So if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A. We see everything that's in the Q&A. So I do apologize about that. But we have a question here from John. He says, Bo, can we have you speak to some of our Cherokee at-large groups? What you have said so far really resonates with me.
Well, I'm happy to. I'm always happy to go and speak, for and represent our people, and here's the thing that I do work for the tribe, and sometimes, when you work and you work for the government, you kind of have to tend to be a little bit careful of how you say, not to offend. And usually when I come and I can speak on behalf of myself, my family, my clan. I speak, but I'm hoping that if I get a chance to speak, I do come, and I am willing to share my knowledge. And this is what I've always said: is when I come, it is a two-way conversation. I want to learn from you. I want to learn how you guys see the world, and as Cherokees, we are constantly evolving. We can't all live on the same land that we've had. Our land went from this to a small little piece, in the east, and now our Cherokee people are going to college, and they're gonna have to live other places. They're gonna have to live in big cities. We've got to actually take care of our responsibility, which is our families, and we've got to be able to feed them and provide for them. It's not who can grow the best garden or work together as a community. That's a different world. Now we've got to go and get degrees and become educated, whether that's book learning or a skill learning. But we've got to be able to take care of ourselves. And this is the thing: as Cherokees, we cannot forget about the people that are living out on the fringes, because what's going to happen is we lose them, losing our support. We can't always think of people as, they're not as Indian as me, or they're not full bloods, or they're not this or not that. They're white learned or whatever. It is our responsibility to educate Cherokees. It's our responsibility to let them know exactly what it means to be a Cherokee. It's a mindset, it's a way of thinking collectively. It's a way of thinking about this day and age. The world is very ego driven. If you look at TikToks and you're looking at all the people doing the selfies and all this stuff, there's a lot of me in there. There is a tremendous amount of me. As Cherokees, we got to remember that it's not about me, it's about the we. If we're going to actually continue to grow and to take back, we've got to do it as a group. We've got to work together. We've got to have that spirit of Gadugi and come together and work as a group to bring our culture back. Because here's the thing: there's Cherokees out there that didn't grow up with Cherokee knowledge and stuff, but they got knowledge of technology. There's going to be a Cherokee out there that's going to help us, with the next greatest app, or they're going to help us with a technology that's going to help us track and keep our language. That's the thing we got to. We just never know of who's out there that we need to be taken care of. And the truth of it is, we got to take care of all Cherokees. We got to take care of all of them. So yeah, I think it's important to go out and teach the at large, and because as Cherokees, we're all at large, we're not, we've got three different tribes, and politically we're three different, but we can still come together spiritually, traditionally, and come together. I've never had a problem come together with anybody from one of the other two different tribes, Kaduas and the Cherokee Nation. When I come, we've always been able to sit and be brothers and sisters. So that's what we got to do. Abraham.
Yes, sir. Well, for your answer, I really appreciate that. And I also schedule a lot of the presentations for the at large. So if your organization or group would like for Bo to come and speak, definitely reach out to me, and we can see if we could coordinate that with Bo, even if it is over Zoom. But for you agreeing to do that, Bo. We really appreciate that. So the next question we have comes from Patrick. He says, how are some ways EBCI are working together with Cherokee Nation? How can Cherokee Nation citizens become more involved in Eastern Band culture?
Oh, that's a big one. I mean, I tell you, the adult language learner program, Kristen and Wade and Howard, every time that we've been out there to visit, they've always opened their arms, they've opened their doors, they've been willing to share their knowledge, and they've been willing to share. And that's a good way of being. As Cherokees, we forget just such simple things. It's like anytime anybody comes into your home, as a guest, you take care of them, you feed them, you offer them food, you offer them water, and you offer them your time. And this is something that we have the responsibility to take care of one another. And this is the thing why I encourage people to look back to the East. I know that, as the Cherokee Nation, I respect what Indians are. I respect Indians have come together. I respect that Indians are progressing and Indians are growing and stuff. One thing I want you to remember is that our traditional home is in the East. It is Goodua. That's our mother town. That's not my mother town. It's not Eastern Band's mother town. It is all Cherokee's mother town. It is important. It's, I know that that there's a pilgrimage to go back to Mecca. The Cherokees need to go back to the East. They need to go to Kuwahin, and stand up on top of these mountains and see all that the Cherokees owned, and put their hands in the dirt and the cold water that we have here, and to sit and pray and understand that we belong there. And it is important that you guys come back. It is important that that we are willing to share. We do have traditional songs and dances that that just don't always do out west. And that's the thing. What we forget is that our culture was fractured. Things went with you guys and things stayed with us. Now we've got to find a way to bring this back together and start sharing, and that's just the thing. It's got to be something that we're doing constantly. It can't be occasionally. It's I just hope that we could find inventive ways to share and bring our people back home. But we want to go out there. We always love to come and visit in Oklahoma, but we encourage all Cherokees to come back and see us, come back to the East and come back.
Well, Bo, I really appreciate that answer. We have another question from Todd. He says, have you noticed Any pronunciation differences between Eastern Band and the Cherokee Nation?
Oh, do you hang? It is, yeah, there's quite a few differences, but it's very slight. It's almost like somebody from New York, somebody with a New York accent, and somebody from the South that talks real slow. It's gonna have a little bit more drawl on the. There's gonna be different words in the East. You go to Ohio, they call it a pop. You go some places, they call a word a soda. You come down into the South, they call all things a Coke. And here's the thing, you can't get bogged down in that. You can't get bogged down, oh, they speak just a little bit differently. You go to Oklahoma, that you go to Jay, they're going to speak a little bit different than they do in Rocky Ford or down into, Gore. And, it's the same way here in Snowbird. They speak a little bit different than they do in Big Cove and Wolftown. But here's the thing, we can't worry about that. And when speakers get together, they don't think about it. They just come and they get, and they start rolling. Sometimes it take a little bit of time to see. She's in any way. They'll say it again, but the thing is, they'll get on and they'll start rolling. They don't worry about it. People speak just a little bit different. They might have a different word or whatever. That's stuff that will bog us down. Those are the issues that will kind of say, oh, that's not spoken right, or that's not the right way to do it. It's the key thing is we got to remember it's different. We forget that there are 7 clans. As Cherokees, we're not really meant to be all one flavor. As Cherokees, we prize and we understand that as the differences is what makes us great. There were 7 clans. They were all like 7 different tribes. They had their own headmen, their own medicine. They had their own way of doing things. But they would come together and they would work together to we're not meant to be all the same. We're not meant to speak the same. It is good if Cherokees can have a little diversity in the way they see the world. But when they pull it together and the language comes, the language makes you be a little bit more. As a Cherokee, it is so tough to explain what is happening with a Cherokee speaker, because they're all like almost dang. They're geniuses with what they're doing with the language. It amazes me every day what they're doing and how because they're so subtle, and a small change makes a big difference. But you got to be listening. You got to be involved with that conversation. You can't be sitting on your phone playing a game and listening and watching TV. When a Cherokee speaker's talking, you got to be there. You've got to be listening. It's because they're telling you things, they're showing you things in language. It's not dead. So you got to be awake to be working with the language. Making a long answer longer than it has to be. There are subtle differences, but don't worry about it. Just learn what you can learn. If you're trying to learn the language, find what you can find and use it. And if you're really this is where as language programs, we've got to meet people where they are. We can't expect everybody to come into and sit in a classroom environment or sign up to take a adult language learner for 2 years, and it would be hard for a lot of people. So we've got to find ways to create avenues for them to learn, but we've got to do it in a different way. It can't be repeat after me, she-o, let's be boring. No, we gotta be inviting and make the language alive and real. Our language has so much humor in it. If you get around Cherokees and they're not talking politics, they come around, and what you're going to hear is you're going to hear laughter. You're going to hear them joking, and you're going to hear them, you know, always funning. That's a real Cherokee way of doing it. It's hard to get that in a workbook. It's hard to get that, but we've got to find ways to make that happen. So, Abraham, what else you got?
Well, no, Bo. We have a comment actually from Quiston. She says, congratulations to your Cherokee speaking valedictorian daughter. My daughter did WCU language classes during high school for foreign language requirement, but it cost $4,000. There should be online classes free to high schoolers at large, maybe through a community college. So I know that Cherokee Nation has online language classes. Does the Eastern Band do that as well?
As the Eastern Band, we have not got to that place. We do have MOUs with certain, with Western Carolina, and I think we're working with University of Chapel Hill. We've got people. My daughter's getting ready to go to Wake Forest, and we have people there, but we're still trying to solidify and bring these classes back to a place where they need to be. This is the way that I kind of feel. It's like we cannot, I've been trying to learn Cherokee language for a long time. I've been at it a long time. I speak at a high level. I'm nowhere near fluent. If I get in a good way, I can hang. If I'm in a, if my mind's right, and if I'm not thinking a lot of English, if I'm not working on reports and being an administrator, I can get in and I can talk and be Cherokee. Because remember, I was talking about you got to be in the moment. You got to be there. You can't be distracted with the language. Here's the thing. With the language, we've got to get to a place where we're not reteaching everything. We don't need another class. I know this is going to probably make some people mad, but we don't need to be going into classes teaching colors anymore. We don't need to be going to a class and teach people how to count. We've got to find and create the right teaching app, whatever that is, that gets that to people readily. It's not hard to learn your colors. It's not hard to learn to count. It's not hard to learn animals. It's not. We don't need to keep teaching that. What we need to work on is the verbs. We've got to work on how the complexity is working and what's happening and how, and we're getting there. We're getting there, but I think we've got to find a place where we can get all of our second language learners. We need to be able to get them to a place real quick with where it's not very hard to work, get the right textbook, the right video chats, the right video, whatever, and have them get to this place. And then we need to start working to this next levels. What's happened is there are a lot of Cherokees that get to a certain level and they hit the ceiling. This is where we need to be working. Why we have our speakers, why we still have first language speakers, we need to be learning what is happening on the ceiling here. We don't need to be focusing down here. We can, a lot of our second language learners that they can come back and teach. That's the thing. We've got to talk about responsibility. If you learn the language, you got to give back. You got to teach. You got to, we've got to start hitting this hard. We've got to really start hitting, going guns a-blazing while we can. I know I'm all over the place today. I am really all over the place on this. I'm really not trying to be. It's just a fact. I am excited about the possibilities. And if we work together, we can make this happen. You know, I know the Cherokee Nation has, this is what I know, is that they have a lot of resources and they put it on there, but for the most part, they probably still need more. We still need more. We need the, there might be a Cherokee sitting out there that's multi-millionaire. I don't know. We might need you. We might need you to come back and help, and from, you know, not just for your money or whatever, but the fact is, we as Cherokees, everybody can give something, your time and energy. If you learn the language, you're giving your time and energy. If you come back and you learn and you're do what you can and when you can, you're giving. And that's the mindset we've got to have. We can't have the mindset of taking. We've got to have the mindset of giving. And I don't know. I know that sounds preachy. I know that sounds whatever, but you know, as Cherokees, I just know we've got to take care of each other. We've got to work together. We've got to have expectations of each other and love one another. You know, the fact is, you know, the world of Cherokees being all full bloods and all Cherokees having all clans, and you know, that might be something in our past. I know that might be hard to hear, but where I am hopeful is that as Cherokees, if we have the mindset of, you know, I always talk about the Cherokees are like the Borg. The Borg, they'll bring you and they'll make you part of who they are. Adapt or die. That's kind of the way the Borg act. In the old days, that's kind of the way we were. You either came with us or you weren't with us. And here's the thing: we need to make that. We need to make that shift of being afraid of people trying to steal what we have or trying to take our culture. And you know, if we're not willing to share our culture, even with our own, I mean, especially with our own people, then we're going to be in a world of hurt. And that scares me. You know, as Cherokees, we'll go back to it. We have responsibility. One of the old, you know, and I always talk about this, is when Cherokees quit doing what they're supposed to do, when they quit singing their songs, when they quit speaking their language, when they quit being Cherokee, that is when the world will end. And so that's something that was taught to me or told to me, you know, and so we've got to do that. We've got to make sure that we keep our culture alive. And, you know, if that means that we're, you know, sometimes we can't be going around a stomp dance fire or at a hog fry. Sometimes we might be sitting behind a computer working on a language and talking with somebody from miles across the country. If that's what we got to do, that's what we got to do.
Well, Bo, I really appreciate that. And we have some comments from John. He definitely agrees. He says, amen to what you are saying. And he also says, I feel both the Oklahoma and North Carolina Cherokees need a tribal college where both nations are in charge, be accredited, teach Cherokee point of view in each college. Cherokees control their education. So we definitely have some people out here, you know, who really, you know, are feeling your words and definitely agree. So we have one final question here from Patrick. He says, I love the idea of needing to make a pilgrimage back to our Cherokee motherland. Please name some specific locations important to make part of learning where we all come from. What else?
Well, I think first everybody needs to start at Gadua. It's that's where the fire is. That's where we start, you know. That is the place, you know. And this is what I need you to understand. I just yesterday I got on a little crowded van that holds about 15 people, and we all got on this van. It's some of our second language learners. And we got in this van and we drove about an hour and a half into some neighboring towns, but it was Cherokee towns. We didn't go and see Hayesville. We didn't go and see Murphy. We went and saw Spikebuck Mound, and we saw Peachtree, and we saw the mission there. You know, what you're going to find is when you really get to see the enormity of our land, when you really take the goggles off, the blinders off, and you see our land for what it was. And I don't want to say was, I want to say what it is. You know, this is, it just makes you aware. There's a term that's kind of going around today, and it's you know, it's like the woke people that are woke, and I don't like it. I want people to be awake. And this is where you come to Cherokee, of course, you're going to go to the museum, you go to the drama, but you need to go on top of you need to go see Kuwahi. You need to go on top of that and spend time and see where the old ones used to go and sit and pray. But more important, you need to go sit and pray there too. You need to go to Gadua, sit and pray. No, take a picture, but set your stuff down and sit and pray. Go and you know, and look into your genealogy and make that come alive. You know, not everybody was from Big Cove, and not everybody was from Wolftown. You know, a lot of the Cherokees from Oklahoma, they're going to be from Achota. They're going to be from, you know, there's so many towns. Go and see. Go back and be awake to all that we have. It's like making a pilgrimage one time usually opens the door for other things. And this is where I'm hoping we I'm very happy that they asked me to come back and speak this year. But we probably need more things happening. We probably need to do things more than once a year. We probably need to have lecture series that are, working in tandem with all three tribes. That are, that we, create the content that is shareable and that we can keep for, I used to remember when I was a young man, I get and talk and I was being all bold, but now I'm starting to become an old man. And it's really it's kind of different. It's not always hard, but it's just really different. Now I gotta make sure that when we're doing things that we're not just doing it one time. We need to find avenues that it's kept and shared. If you've got elders in your community and they've got stories, if you ain't spending time with them, if you're not recording them, if you're not, man, we've got these most powerful things. I got one right here. I'm sitting here in front of you, and I got feathers and gorgets, and I'm sitting here with all my treasures, my war clubs back here. I've got all this stuff. I got this little phone right here, but I can sit and record somebody and vivid, beautiful color and all this stuff. Watch an iPhone commercial. Go watch it. But you need to put a Cherokee person in front of this camera, and you need to talk to them, and you need to work with them, and you need to share it. This is where we just gotta change our mindset. We gotta, as Cherokees, we belong. And this is the thing, we can't be crybabies. We can't be blaming. We can't be whatever. We've got to come with a bold heart, not of being greedy, not of being, angry or upset. White man took everything, blah, blah, blah. We can't do nothing about that. What we can do is own our own responsibility. We're going to make the world better. We're going to make the world more Cherokee. And when we do that, I think this is where, as Cherokees, we're going to empower what we should be. As Gadua people, we're supposed to be above things. We're supposed to be raised up above. And I love that. So as Cherokees, I know I've been preaching. I know I've been laying all kinds of stuff out there, and I may have offended some people, but I love my people. I love being a Cherokee. And sometimes as Cherokees, we're the hardest on each other. We don't love each other like we should. So that's, if I could just say anything, hey, let's love one another. Let's work together. Let's be one people. We can be 7 clans. We can be, have differences. We can do this. It doesn't make us that we have to fight about it. What it does make us understand that we've got to understand that we are different. But in our differences, we become stronger. So, what we got? I guess that's all I got. Abraham, are we good?
We are great. Well on, Bo, for sharing your wisdom with us, for sharing these teachings. And you're right. That's how we continue to pass these teachings along, is by sharing them with one another. So, I appreciate your time, and, we will definitely look to collaborate more. We have people who would really like to hear from you again. So I think that's a great idea, what you said. We'll get a lecture series started and, make sure we can come together more in a good way. So once again, I really appreciate your time, and I appreciate everyone else's time. And I hope that you guys have a great day. Bueno.
Bueno, ski.